And we are recording. This is episode 12 of Peak. Okay, thank you.
That's cool.
Thank you, Craig. This is episode 12 of Peaks in College. We made it to episode 12. We talked about this last episode that apparently 12 episodes makes or breaks a podcast. So we're going to see if we can push through here. We have a really good episode planned for everybody. There's a March Madness edition of Peaked in College. So if you hate college basketball, if you don't watch March Madness, if you're just an angry person that sits inside and refuses to watch, don't listen to this episode. But if you're the type of person that fills out a bracket and does this kind of stuff, welcome aboard. We're going to go through game by game of the March Madness tournament. Welcome. And we also have a special guest here. We got Josh McInerney. Thanks for joining us from Kansas.
Privileged to be here, boys. Best time, a good time of the year to watch if you're a sports fan. A lot of games on, a lot of money to be made, and a lot of money to be lost.
Yeah, a lot of money to be lost. That's a good point there. Excited for this bracket pool, spending some money on the brackets, maybe gambling a few games here and there. Looking forward to that. Josh, I appreciate the fact that you wore a headset. I do feel weird with the headset on. I feel like a pilot or something, or like you said, an IT guy. So I'm glad I'm not alone here.
Yeah, no, we're not as high tech as Craig wearing the AirPods.
Yeah, y'all need to upgrade.
or
upgrade season.
Streamer snowball mic.
Yeah,
take your big winnings from March Madness and invest in some new equipment, boys.
Yeah, I'm gonna invest in some equipment once I win a couple games of March Madness. So, all right, you guys ready to get into it?
Yeah, do you want to talk about the format of what we're doing today?
Yeah, good point. So basically what we're going to do, we got Craig pulling up the bracket here. We're going to go literally,
by the way.
Yeah, we can see it. It looks great. We're going to literally go game by game. We're going to go every single game of the tournament. With Josh and I are going to go back and forth, talk about what we know about it. Throw in a little gambling advice in there here and there. Craig's going to be the moderator. He's going to pick. It's ultimately going to be his decision on what games or what teams he wants to advance to the next round. So if you have any complaints, put them in the comments. Just send us an email, peakedincollege@gmail.com, I believe, and send your complaints there. But basically we're just going to go through game by game of the tournament. I believe we're going to go region by region first. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then at the end, we're going to say maybe players to watch, our Cinderella pick, and top 3 games to look for throughout the tournament. So hope you're as excited as we are.
Let's get into it, boys.
Okay, game number 1. We got the West region. At the very top here, we got number 1 overall seed Gonzaga versus Georgia State. Okay, Josh, what are your initial thoughts here?
16 versus 1. I don't think we need to talk much about this. I'm glad, Craig, you're pulling up this. Chet's too tall. They're playing in Portland. Basically a home game for Gonzaga. Georgia State's got to go across 5 time zones to play. Easy win for the Zags.
Yeah, I think Gonzaga is really tough. We'll obviously talk about them in later rounds, but I prepared a lot of my things about each team in the first round here. So my thing on them, they got a lot of top players. They got Chet Holmgren, Player of the Year candidate, Drew Timme, the mustache bandit. He loves to showboat down 20 in the national championship game. But I think they're a tough team. Georgia State, I had to Google it. They do not have Ron Hunter, the coach, or RJ Hunter. He's since graduated. Circa 2015 tournament with the game winner that RJ Hunter had. Do you guys remember that when his dad fell off the knee scooter?
Yeah, that was against Baylor. I had Baylor going far that tournament.
Oh, so you're still upset about it? I think I had them going pretty far too, actually.
But yeah, so Gonzaga advances. Let's move on.
Gonzaga
16 versus 1.
Yeah. We're done. Yeah.
No debate there. Next, we got a pretty good game, Boise State, Memphis.
That is a good game, and I think I was reading the storyline that I thought was pretty messed up is Boise State, I think, won the regular season and the conference tournament, and they're an 8 seed. Colorado State lost to Boise State in the conference tournament, didn't win the regular season, and they're a 6 seed. I don't see how that makes any sense where you can beat a team in the conference tournament, have, I think, 1 less loss or 2 less losses in them, and then do better in the regular season and then be a worse seed. So that just show you the elite people, like the 80s of the world making the bracket, have no idea what they're doing, but that's beside the point. And so
their coach is a snake too.
Who? Colorado
Isn't
State?
Colorado State's coach the old coach?
Yeah.
Nico Medved,
yeah. Nico Medved, yeah. But okay, so going back to Boise State, I like Boise State in this game. The reason Memphis has been playing better late, but they're such an inconsistent team. like Portland's not as good a town to party in as Memphis would be. So I think their players are going to be a little less distracted. They're not going to be as hyped up as like James Harden would be when he plays in certain cities. So I'm going with Boise State for that reason.
Okay, I'm glad that you said that because we have our first disagreement of the tournament of the bracket. So, my first comment here, I have a few sheets of paper with some comments on each matchup, and my first comment is Boise State has a basketball team. Good for them. I'm glad they made it to the tournament. I did not even know they existed. I looked into it. They really don't have too many impressive wins. I think that's probably why they got the seed that they did. They got San Diego State and Wyoming are really the only impressive wins. Memphis has had some big wins. They got some good players. They got Jalen Duren, the conference player of the year. He's a freshman. I think is Amani Bates still playing too? He was a top recruit going into Memphis.
No, I think he got
He's
hurt
not,
and then
but-
he's not playing.
Okay.
I actually did a little research. Memphis, since Simone Bates has been out, Memphis has like the 7th or 8th best record. Like they've been playing better since he's been out.
They might have been, that was kind of my concern going in. They might have been focusing too much on getting, those top recruits the ball too much or getting them too much action. They started the season I think 9-10. Like they were really a rough start to the season, but they beat Houston twice, who's a really good team. Virginia Tech, who got really hot towards the end of the year. They beat Bama by 14. They lost to a really good Murray State team by 2. So I think they have a lot of potential and a lot of star power. So I picked Memphis to move on here.
And I will say this one was tough for me to pick. I'm not too sold on Boise.
Don't concede already.
I'm not conceding. Like it's an 8-9. So to the viewers out there, that one's like very tough to pick because that's like basically a coin flip game. I personally think. And then I don't know if you guys know what Ken Palm is. You know what that is?
I've heard of it. Is that when they like break down like stats really heavily?
Yeah, stats for teams. And so they based off like a criteria of like 12 statistics. Boise State is like 27th and Memphis is 26th. They're right next to each other. So they're right neck and neck. So this one's tough to pick for me, but I don't know. Penny Hardaway's never coached in the tournament. Well, I mean, Boise State's coach hasn't coached in the tournament either, but I don't know. It's going to be a good game, but I'm not feeling too strongly either way, but
I think it's fair to say it's a toss up. So Craig, it looks like you already picked Memphis.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think they're more hot. I think they come from better conference. We'll talk about it more later too, but I tend to pick the 9 over the 8 just in general because it is a coin flip, and in a lot of formats you get more points for having the higher seed. So it's truly a toss up. Might as well get that extra point.
Sure, get the value. He's thinking like a true gambler. I like that.
Yeah. Okay. So you got Memphis money line against Boise State as the underdogs. Okay. Then we got number 5 UConn against number 12 New Mexico State. So this is one I'm just going to be honest with the listeners and you guys that I don't know anything about New Mexico State. They're habitually in the tournament and usually they perform pretty well. Usually they're good for a round of 64 win. But I like UConn here. I think UConn has a solid team. They have experience. They're coached by Danny Hurley. Keep an eye on RJ Cole, number 2. He's their point guard. He makes a lot of clutch shots. He's a little bit of a Shabazz Napier-esque player. So I like UConn moving on here.
Yeah, I actually do agree with that. I was looking at New Mexico State's schedule. I think the best team they beat, they barely beat Indiana State. Indiana State's not that good. They have some good wins, but they've lost to Chicago State. And Chicago State, to me, is a team that plays Drake annually, and Chicago State's terrible. And if you lose to Chicago State, you should not win a first-round game in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I think that's fair. UConn's had a couple good wins. They beat Villanova twice, I believe. Maybe once. I think they beat Auburn. They beat Marquette twice. They did lose to Providence, Michigan State, and Creighton. So I think they're really volatile. Like they have some really good wins and they have some pretty bad losses. So, but I don't see New Mexico State beating UConn here.
So we got UConn advancing.
Yeah,
UConn's advancing.
So Arkansas, Vermont, next game.
Yeah,
Number
this one's
4
gonna be juicy,
Arkansas.
I feel like
Number 13 Vermont. Yeah, this is a tough one.
the 4-13s are tough. This is big.
4-13s are tough, and Arkansas is one of like the worst shooting teams in the country. But they are really electric. They have a really good point guard in JD Note. Number 1, keep an eye on him out there. He's a game changer. And they have a great coach with Eric Musselman. The reason why I think Arkansas has the advantage here, not only because they're a 4 versus a 13, obviously, but I think that Eric Musselman will bring the energy. And a lot of times when teams get upset round 1, they don't have the energy, they don't have the excitement. They're looking past teams, and I think that Arkansas is going to focus on this game here, take it one game at a time, and I think they're gonna beat Vermont pretty handedly.
Yeah, I don't know about handily. The reason the only skepticism I have is that the game is in Buffalo. Vermont's close to Buffalo, and it could be like a home game because I don't know how well Arkansas fans are going to travel up to New York. So that in itself is maybe a recipe for an upset. But I agree with you. Arkansas is probably. I have them winning this game for all the points you said. I think they're just too athletic because the whatever conference Vermont is in, I think
American East.
Their player of the year is like their 6'10" big guy, and I think Arkansas, they're used to playing a bunch of big guys in the SEC, so I think they can kind of neutralize them and probably win a 10-point game.
I think you hinted at it, just the athleticism. Look at that right there. Record versus top 25, 4-1 versus 0-1. So I think just like the experience, the strength of schedule, the athleticism. They have a couple transfers. Eric Musselman, I think, is going to prepare the team well for this one.
Mm-hmm.
But Vermont puts up a fight. Like you said, I don't think it's necessarily a blowout. I think Vermont does put up a fight. I think Arkansas pulls away at the end is my pick. So I take Arkansas with the points. And I wish I wrote down the spreads of all these games. I didn't. So I apologize to the gamblers out there, but I think Arkansas pulls away at the end.
Yeah, I think Vermont's a really fun Cinderella team, a small school. And 13-4 is kind of the one seed where we're probably going to at least have 1-13 win. But yeah, I think that archetype of the Arkansas team just being super athletic, those are hard teams to upset just because their defense is going to be there.
What matchup sticks out to you guys as like the biggest one that pops out at paper as upsets waiting to happen? Because to me, it's 5-12.
It's usually like statistically, it's the 5 versus 12 because usually for the viewers out there, the 12 seed's usually a really high end mid-major, and the 5 seed's usually an average Power 5 team. And so that an average Power 5 team is usually not that good, and they just get bolstered because they're at a big money conference. So that's what creates a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I wish I would have pulled those distributions before this because we still normally get like 1-4-13, right? And maybe 1 or 2 6-11s, but the 5-12 is the highest, I think.
I got a stat today on I got a notification of it and I screenshotted it for this episode. A double-digit seed has reached the Sweet 16 in 13 straight men's tournaments.
So that would tell me we need to pick one.
Yeah.
We'll see what
we
we'll
might
see
do
what
that.
happens.
Not yet. Y'all are boring.
Okay, next game we have we decided Arkansas. So next game we have number 6 Alabama versus the tonight's game, Rutgers versus Notre Dame. So Rutgers versus Notre Dame in the play-in game for the 11 seed versus Alabama here. My biggest barrier that I have into picking this game is that I think if Rutgers beats Notre Dame tonight, Rutgers beats Alabama and moves on to the round of 32. However, if Notre Dame beats Rutgers, I think Alabama beats Notre Dame and moves on to the round of 32. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
No, I think Alabama's going to win regardless because they beat Baylor, they beat Gonzaga, they beat some top SEC teams. They're a good team. They've just lost to a lot of good teams as well. So it's like in a close matchup. So it's like it's like akin to an NFL team being like 9-7, but having like 6 of their losses by less than a touchdown. So that's basically what this game is. And the ACC is terrible. And Rutgers is pretty good. They got this Ron Harper. Is it Ron Harper Jr.?
Yeah, Ron Harper Jr.
But he's pretty good. And I can actually see Rutgers winning the game against Bama. But where's that game at? That game's in San Diego. So you got to think about it. If Rutgers wins tonight, they got to fly all the way out to San Diego and then play not tomorrow, but the next day. So they would play Friday. And I think that's a tall ask flying from New Jersey to Dayton, Ohio to the West Coast. Like, I don't think you can run all 3 sections of the United States at once.
Maybe that's my problem with always picking brackets is I don't really play that kind of those kind of things into it. Because think about it, they're college age kids. Like they can travel, they can play. They're just going out there, rolling the balls out and playing basketball. Like, yeah, there's a lot more to it than that. But I think like compared to like, a man with a family in the NBA, like it's different, traveling across the country and being out of it for a while. I just think I love Rutgers' experience. with Geo Baker, number 1. Keep an eye on that guy. I think he's a dark horse to have a really good tournament. And then, like we talked about, Ron Harper Jr., number 24. He makes a lot of big shots. He's a clutch player. However, Alabama, like you said, has a lot of big wins. Gonzaga, Houston, Baylor, Tennessee, Arkansas. They got 2 really good point guards in Javon Quinterly and Jaden Shackelford. They average like 15 points per game each. So I think that Alabama is going to be really tough to beat. However, I think Rutgers can slow the game down and play to their advantage and make a couple big shots at the end and pull out the win. And then if Notre Dame wins the playing game, then all this goes to crap, and I pick Alabama to advance.
Hold on. Well, is that game going on right now?
I think it's tonight. It's tonight. Yeah. I have Rutgers money line.
Okay, it hasn't started yet. So I guess at the time, I do like Rutgers, but I just think Bama's too athletic. I think Bama's athletic, and then just they'll be ready to play. I don't know.
Do you guys know who won in Bryant versus Wright State?
Bryant?
I have no idea. That's why I'm asking.
Oh, Wright State by 11.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Good. I almost took Bryant money line, so I'm glad I didn't. Bryant has the leading scorer in the country, but I think it's a fluke. I think it's a fluke.
That conference final game, there's almost like a brawl, right?
Yeah, I think they had to delay. They had to delay the game, I think.
Okay, so
Craig, make a decision, Craig.
Yeah, it's tough because I like Bama and Rutgers. Like, I think you bring up a good point, David. Like, I think if Rutgers wins, I think they've got a good chance. But I also winning 2 games is tough. I don't think this is the upset one. I'm going with Bama. Roll Tide.
Okay, that's fair. Hey, you're the moderator. I'm giving you all the power to make a final decision. I'm not going to argue with you. Then it's
tough because I do like both of those teams. It sucks when there's 2 teams that you think could make a little bit of a run and they play each other early.
Yeah, I think I had a lot of faith in Rutgers, but I think they got a tough draw playing Notre Dame, who is actually, I think, the regular season like co-champions of the ACC with Duke. And then they got to play them in the play-in game in Dayton, Ohio, and then go and play Alabama, who is really underseeded, I would say. You know, like you said, Josh, they've played a lot of tough games. I think they had number 1 strength of schedule in the country.
Yeah, they were pretty
close. And then in the round of 32, they'd have to play, the winner of Texas Tech, Montana State, who we'll get to in a second here. But that's a really tough draw too. So, tough draw for Rutgers. But I have faith that they'll at least beat Alabama. So let's move on here. We got Bama moving on. We got number 3 Texas Tech versus number 14 Montana State. I don't know much about Montana State at all, I'll be honest with you. So I just want to talk about Texas Tech here. Defense wins championships. Their defense is incredible. They're in a tough Big 12 conference. They play really tough teams throughout the year. My concern with them is offense. They don't have Jarrett Culver, who can go out and score. It's been a couple of years. He's on the
miss free throws.
Timberwolves now, I think.
They traded him away for.
They have a lot of really solid players. Number 11, Bryson Williams. Keep an eye on him. I think he's a game changer. Kevin O'Banner, number 0. Marcus Santos Silva, number 14, is a bruiser down low. And Kevin McCullough, number 15. Texas Tech has a pretty deep roster, I would say. They're pretty well balanced from their approach. And shout out Mark Adams. He's done an amazing job with his first year there. After help me out, Josh, what's Texas Chris Beard, after he departed, when this dude stepped in and I watched my first Texas Tech game and I saw Mark Adams, I was like, this dude is the biggest nerd I've ever seen. And he's got Texas Tech as a 3 seed in the tournament. I think they're real contenders. I think you're muted, Josh.
I got Texas Tech winning. You look on the screen, 94% to 6%.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't have anything to add. I think they're going to win.
There's not a whole lot to say. I'm trying to add some flair, add some.
No, I get you. I get you.
But I think another interesting note of Texas Tech. I don't know if you guys know this. Did you watch Last Chance U Basketball Edition on Netflix?
No, I didn't.
Okay, you should watch it. Number 1, I think you'd enjoy it. But KJ Allen from that show is on Texas Tech. He's a bench warmer, but super good player on East Los Angeles Community College. So check that show out. Shout out KJ Allen. Hopefully get some garbage time minutes against Montana State. Okay, moving on. We got number 7, Michigan State versus number 10, Davidson. 7 versus 10s are always really tricky for me. I feel like those are usually a toss-up. They could go either way. It's going to surprise you here, but I actually have Davidson moving on. I think Michigan State, for me, has been a gambling nightmare. My first time I bet on them, I went to the University of Iowa game against Michigan State, and I bet on Michigan State plus 6.5. Iowa blew them out by like 30 in front of my very eyes. And then I bet for Purdue against Michigan State at Michigan State because I was salty about the Iowa game. And then Michigan State upset Purdue. So I've lost 2 games in a row, Michigan State. I'm just blacklisting them. I think that they're going to lose. I don't trust them, even though I love Tom Izzo in March. I'm going with Davidson here with the upset 10/7.
I don't have much to disagree with that. I just think that the flip side of that is I like Izzo. I think my love for Izzo in March exceeds my dislike for the inconsistency of Michigan State. And Davidson just lost to Richmond in a conference championship game that was relatively close to home. And I think Richmond was a bad loss. And actually, I'm going to change my mind. I think it's going to be Davidson. You changed my mind because the game is in South Carolina. I think coming off a loss, that'll wake Davidson up. And like you said, Michigan State, who knows which team you're going to get. So I do like Davidson.
Here's what my first thought that popped into my head when I looked at this bracket was I like Tom Izzo in March. They say January, February, Izzo, April.
Yeah.
But however, I think they're going to be looking past this game, looking to that Duke versus Michigan State matchup. And I think Davidson's going to shock them. They have 4 players that average over 11 points. And then they shoot almost 40% from a team as a team from 3. So teams that can hit a lot of threes in the tournament are valuable for big upsets. And I think 10/7 here is the pick.
Yeah, this is one of those where I was kind of bummed with this draw because I like Michigan State. They're pretty consistent in March, but like you said, David, to make a run in the tourney as an underseeded team, you generally got to be hot from 3, and Davidson is about as capable of that as anyone in the country.